how I went from being a full-time NHS doctor to an actress. Long story, it is a dramatic story, but I'm going to try and do my best to tell you. I've literally dedicated today to answering people's questions. I'm responding because everyone's been so kind. You showed me so much love. Like, I've actually cried reading some of the comments, and I'm really, really grateful. Thank you guys, but I'm digressing. Got to give you the good stuff. Got to give you what you came for. So, where to start? I worked as a doctor. I grew up, got the grades, did all that good stuff. Praise God. We got into medical school like a good Nigerian daughter. I'm really grateful to God for that. Worked through the pandemonium, or that which shan't be named, and it was a lot. It was an absolute lot. At the same time, I had a YouTube channel. I still have a YouTube channel. If you like working out and you want to work out with me, you can't see my guns, but they are there. Then go to Dr. Sarah O'Tone on YouTube. But basically, I had a YouTube channel, and randomly, a producer from the BBC emailed me being like, do you want to do this show and can you sing? And now the show was singing with Gareth Malone in a choir. Now I have sung in church choirs my whole life. Praise the Lord. So I was like, yes, I can sing. Yes, I want to do that. So and I cannot stress this enough, through God's grace, but also I was putting myself out there. I was literally uploading videos to YouTube alongside my work. I ended up being on this BBC show, and it was amazing because we were singing, we were writing songs, they sent us this equipment to film, which is so funny now because as I'm telling this story, looking back, I can see how everything has just fallen into place. All the things which you think that has nothing to do with anything, it just ends up working. But basically they sent me all this equipment, so I was filming myself, and what I found was that writing songs with Gareth during this show was a huge emotional release for me while working through what was one of the craziest times of my life. Aside from the pandemonium, I had stuff going on in my personal life. Now, this is all on a background of when I was a child. I am the youngest of 5 in the Nigerian family. We didn't have like a super big amount of money, but my mum put me in acting lessons for 2 months. I loved it. When I tell you, I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was just the most, those like core memories. I absolutely loved it. But then we didn't have enough money, so I had to stop. And I remember literally begging, I can remember it now, holding her hand, begging my mum for more lessons. And she was like, I'm really sorry, we just can't afford it. So that is my snapshot history of acting. Fast forward then to being a 26 or 27-year-old doctor. I've been a doctor for 3 to 4 years at the time. And I do this show. Then suddenly, as life is going on in 2020, our Prime Minister at the time, Mr. Johnson, announces to the world, so I'm sat there in South Wales, Cardiff, watching the news. He's like, we're going into lockdown and we are going to stop the non-essentials. And he refers to the arts as being non-essential. Now, I remember being sat there, a frontline doctor, watching that thinking, what? PR training. What are you talking about? What are you on about non-essential? When I tell you that was one of the darkest times of my life that I had experienced, and I would get home and I would binge watch South Korean Netflix dramas, and they literally got me through. It was a moment where I could step out of my own grim shoes and into someone else's. It was emotional release. I would cry, I would weep watching these shows. Sky Castle, I think, was the one that literally just moved me to tears. And I would get that release. And then meanwhile, I was doing this show with Gareth, writing these songs, and the arts were what was helping me to show up for work the next day. And I was on the ward, saving lives, preserving lives. But what do we preserve them for? What are we doing if we don't have the arts? And I don't want to get emotional about this, but it was like, it was 4 years ago now, but I remember it like it was yesterday, and I was like, I have to find my way into the arts, because yes, there is healing through medicine, but there is a level of emotional healing, of being able to connect with another human that no drug will ever give you. But a writer can, a singer can, an actor can, an artist can. So anyway, I say all that to say, I then did nothing. I thought about it, I finished the show, and I remember getting advice from my consultants about what I should do next career-wise, and so I applied for this job doing A&E in south of England. I'm Welsh, so I'd been living in South Wales for a long time, for like my whole life. So I apply for this job, I get the job by God's grace, so I end my lease on the flat, I'm ready for a new start post-pandemonium, I pack up all my stuff, and a couple of weeks before, tell me why this blessed hospital emails me saying, oh babes, no, oh my bad, typo. And bearing in mind, the way that you apply for jobs in medicine, there is a whole rigmarole. There's a whole system. It's not just like, oh, submit your CV, you got the job. There's a whole system. I've been through this whole system. The hospital emailed me saying, oh, so sorry, darling. There was a typing error on the job listing and that job doesn't exist, but we'll give you this other job instead. Okay, job I applied for, job I wanted, job they wanted to give me. I did not want that job. I wanted this job. I would never have packed up my life to move for that job. I was packing up my life to move for this job. And more than just, you know, what specialty I was going to be doing, because at the time I thought I wanted to do A&E, it was more about just the treatment of it. Like, we had gone from, you know, we'd been wearing bin bags during the pandemonium, and then so for whatever reason, them changing this job, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was angry, which is something I've learnt in acting that I never allowed myself to really access a lot, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, I was angry. I was so angry. And I was like, absolutely not. And do you know what I did? I opened up my laptop. I found an acting school that I had been looking at, that my sister had mentioned to me, and I signed up. I signed up to audition. I said, take my £30. I paid my money. I was like, I'm going to acting school. I'm done, I'm going to acting school, that's what I'm gonna do, because I get to choose what I do with my life. Anyway, wake up the next morning and I think, what are we doing here, darling? What are we doing? And so I start emailing the hospital being like, this is unacceptable, change my job back. They're like, no. I pray about it when you guys, I'm telling my friends, my church, everyone to pray for me. And like, I really feel like I begged God, and God said, you know what, have it. So they changed my job back to the one that I wanted. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Deep down inside, I still don't feel right about this, but I'm like, okay, cool. So I go, I do the job, I follow the status quo, like I have done for the majority of my life as a British Nigerian daughter. I have really followed the script a lot of the time. And I did this job, and my goodness, this job was horrendous. It was post-pandemonium, and it was I don't want to like, you know, give the tea or anything, but it was really difficult. It was really tough. I was not enjoying it. I was not happy. And then a few weeks in, I get an email, right, from the acting school being like, your audition is next Tuesday. Guess what happens? I've got the Tuesday off. From work, so I'm like, I'm going to do it. So I prepped for the audition that morning. And can I just say that this audition was on Zoom? It was a 3-hour Zoom audition. It was 2021 September. Zoom was over. Zoom was not where I wanted to be. And yet that was the best 3 hours I think I had had like since I could remember. I was like, I love this. I enjoyed every second of it. I didn't even know it was weird that I enjoyed that until someone told me afterwards. They're like, oh, to enjoy an audition, you must really love this. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I would audition again for free. I would pay again to audition, because I just learned so much from it, and I really enjoyed being able to show them a character and show them what I'd worked on and step into someone else's shoes. And then what happened was, you guys, I got in and I was so happy. I hadn't even told anyone I was auditioning apart from my older sister. I told her, and she had like helped me practice. And I got in and they were like, oh my gosh, you can't move around your lessons. You have to commit to this, or you can defer for a year. But I was like, I can't defer for a year, because I knew that if not now, never. You know, we always say, oh, tomorrow. If medicine has taught me one thing, it is that life is a gift that cannot wait for tomorrow. And so I was like, I have to make this work. So I accepted to do the acting school, and I chose that I would never miss a class. I swapped around my shifts, which when you work on A&E, you know how difficult that can be. Some shifts were too hard to swap, so I would do a night shift. I'd start work on a Friday, 8 p.m. I would work until Saturday morning, 8:30 a.m. I would then travel 2.5 hours to my acting school. I would do a 3-hour lesson. I'd travel an hour home. I would sleep for a few hours, and then I would get up again to travel an hour back to work. It was a lot. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to end that there. But that is how I applied to acting school and started. If you want to hear more about how I got my first job, let me know in the comments, and I will film a video for you. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.